Republicans, it's not the party of Trump. It's safe to come back. And it's safe for Republicans to stand up and run without Donald Trump. I mean, look at Youngkin. I think what is influencing certain conservative outlets on TV and radio is everybody they hear from is one of the, diehard, the few dwindling remaining Trump fanatics. But after the election and then after January 6th, normal people, I'm not a normal person. I'm a political nut, and I stopped paying attention to politics. It's just a drag. It's a bore. I think what really got normal people back into paying attention to politics was Glenn Youngkin's election in Virginia. What was great about his campaign is he didn't attack Trump, but he sure didn't let him campaign for him. Trump had nothing to do with that campaign. It was about the white privilege being taught to school children and the transgender nonsense in the schools. And white voters in Virginia came out in droves to vote for him.
There's a lot going on there with Ann Coulter. First, she's talking about distancing from Trump and how you can be a part of the Republican Party and still not be with Trump. But then Glenn Youngkin did it right, and he attracted all those racist white folks. It sounds like you're back on Donald Trump's train to me. They can't really fully get away from him. Either way it goes, battle lines have been drawn, and you see more and more pundits, more and more, maybe even some politicians beginning to find some distance between them and Trump. Another pundit here, Ben Shapiro, also took to a bit of a Twitter thread. We were going to get to this yesterday, but I wanted to bring it back for today because he's trying to give a bit of a game plan, a playbook, so that maybe they can avoid Donald Trump because he thinks they keep walking right back into it. Here's part of his tweet thread. He says, Republicans are losing steam in the 22 election. There's some reasons for this, the Democratic upswing in the wake of Dobbs being the most obvious factor. They always kind of brush over that part. But there's more, he says. There's something else going on here that represents a deeper problem for the Republican Party. He said, Democrats say, we don't want to talk about Biden, the economy, our perversion of the education system, or Afghanistan. Let's talk about Trump. And Republicans say, great idea, let's talk about Trump. But why are Republicans losing momentum? A mystery wrapped in an enigma. Which I guess we can see that Ben Shapiro's like, Donald Trump is a bit of an anchor weighing down this party. He just won't say it specifically. He'll just say, stop talking about him, please. But Donald Trump won't stop talking. So if you're not giving your full loyalty to Donald Trump, he's gonna cut your head off. Anyways, Alex Jones, if you guys maybe forgot, also said this.
Pig-headedly support him a few years ago, even though I disagreed with his warp speed, because I thought that we had to keep him in office because of the nightmare scenario if Hillary or Biden got in, back before they were officially running. But that said, I am supporting DeSantis. DeSantis is just gone from being awesome to being unbelievably good. And I don't just watch a man's actions, as Christ said, judge a tree by its fruits. I can also look in his eyes on HD video. And I see the real sincerity.
Alex Jones for Ron DeSantis. Laura Ingraham went on Lisa Booth's podcast and said people conflate Trump with people's overall sense of happiness in the country. Donald Trump's been a friend of mine for 25 years, and I'm always very open about hit this on my show. But we'll see whether that's what the country wants. They're all jumping ship. As a matter of fact, maybe the most stark thing is a Drudge's post here that happened earlier this week that I'm not sure if it got the kind of attention and traction that you normally would, but Drudge posted this photo, which you would maybe find on a left-leaning website that's pointing out Donald Trump deserves to be in prison jumpsuits, and says this Trump indictment watch. Riots if prosecuted, which we heard Lindsey Graham say, legal team scrambles to find his argument. They're just burying this guy. There's more, because in this op-ed, Bradley P. Moss explains this possible indictment, how it'll be what Trump will be possibly facing. These things are getting serious, is what he said. He said, you heard me right. I believe Trump will actually be indicted for a criminal offense. Even if all of its redactions, the probable cause affidavit published today by the magistrate judge in Florida makes clear to me 3 essential points. 1, 2, and 3. Trump was in an unauthorized possession of national defense information, namely properly marked classified documents. He was put on notice by the US government that he was not permitted to retain those documents at Mar-a-Lago, and he continued to maintain possession of the documents and allegedly undertook efforts to conceal them in different places throughout the property until the FBI finally executed a search warrant early this month. Now, by the way, Ben, all these people from, I think it was maybe even Lindsey Graham, but definitely Tim Scott, Dan Crenshaw were all like, I don't know why they came back and decided to take more information. All they had to do was continue this nice cordial conversation with him. If you want to take a look at those 3 points, since it's not obvious to anyone else, like these folks, that's the reason why they came back in. And when you look at that whole document dump of a bunch of classified material on the floor next to his Time magazines, that's another reason why. You want us to keep dancing around this problem or let him continue to evade justice? It's the question.
That is the question. That is the question, and the answer remains to be seen. I'm starting to get a little worried. I do hope that Trump does receive that criminal indictment, but I'm starting to get a little worried that he's gonna then shift to just throw everybody that he knows under the bus instead, because that's the benefit of having henchmen all around you, is he can just say, oh, well then if they were moved around, my guys put them there, my lawyers hid them there, I didn't do it. So I really hope that they're able to pin some responsibility on this guy at some point. As to people leaving him, as to conservative far-right pundits leaving him, they are trying to do that because they are fearing, and that's the best sign probably yet, the tea leaves moving away from him, that he is in trouble, and they don't want to be associated. They don't want guilt by association of being next to Trump anymore, which obviously it's too late at this point. There's an enormous trove of records of every one of these pundits defending him and empowering and enabling him forever. But they're trying to move away, which is the best sign that maybe things are going down the river for him. It's just so unbelievable that the democracy had to come to this near breaking point to get them to say, okay, maybe I'm moving on. Maybe it's time to move on. And even Ann Coulter, for an example, and obviously you can't show every part of a clip, but there's one part of the clip of her that you showed there that you guys jumped past that actually caught my eye. I can play the audio for you guys real quick now. That really speaks, I think, to Republicans, to these malintended, greedy, just nihilistic asses, for lack of a better word, that are trying to tear down the country just for their own fame, just to watch it burn. Here's a few words that Ann Coulter said right after the clip that you showed. Listen to this insanity, and shows you their mindset.
But after the election and then after January 6th, normal people, I'm not a normal person, I'm a political nut, and I stopped paying attention to politics.
And listen here.
It's a drag, it's a bore. Started to get fun as the world went to hell and Joe Biden's numbers were plummeting.
It started to get fun as the world went to hell and Joe Biden's numbers were plummeting. The Republicans will never directly say in their main point what their true intentions are, but they'll let it slip in these little side phrases. They'll say, oh, I enjoy politics because it's a game to me, and when the world goes to hell, when the current president starts to fail, that's when it gets fun. Oh boy, do I get excited. That is why these people should not be allowed with the word news by their name. That's why they should not be allowed to walk freely in this country. That's criminal activity, because they are empowering the millions of people that believe the election was stolen, that believe that simply getting back government secrets is an attack worthy of civil war. This has to stop. We cannot keep having the bar be so low that we're allowing these monster nihilists to burn down our nation just because it's fun for them.
And for a paycheck, that's just the way it is. And that's what we've gotten to in this country. It's a shame. It's stark. And also, by the way, the politicians, and when you got the pundits like Ann Coulter saying that type of stuff, but then you got the politicians who make sure that the world is going to hell by their policies or their rejection of anything that actually helps things go to a positive direction. They have to destroy it, then complain about it and say, here, elect me.